Here's something most spiritual seekers don't realize. Healing can actually become an addiction. Not because you're broken and not because you're doing it wrong or because you're failing. It's because your system has learned to feel safer inside the loop of healing and inside the loop of the wound, rather than in the freedom of creation. So in the mystery schools, they call this polishing the mirror. So you can scrub away at the smoke of the distortion in your life forever, but at some point the polishing is complete. The invitation is to stop polishing and to finally look, to see your true reflection, to see what's really there. And this is the belief I want to anchor today. Healing is a doorway. It's not a destination. The wound offers medicine, and the medicine is super important. But when it's landed, your work is then to embody it and to move forward, to live from the healed self, even if life fully hasn't caught up yet. So in today's episode, we're going to explore why we get stuck in this loop and why we get kind of stuck in this healing, how to know when the medicine has landed, and then the practical ways to shift into creation without abandoning compassion, love, and joy. Because your soul was never meant to live forever in the wound. It came here to rise, to create, to lead. Join me inside and I'll tell you all about it.
You're listening to the Intuitive Mastery Podcast. Hi, I'm Kate Connolly, and with over 15 years of intuitive healing and teaching experience, I'm here to help you celebrate intuition and value authenticity to create a world where you have the freedom to live your best life. This podcast is here to teach you how to apply the principles of spirituality, healing, and mindset to have true and lasting joy, all from the inside out. This is the Intuitive Mastery Podcast.
All right, welcome into this beautiful space. I'm just going to take a couple of seconds to ground into the energy of what we're doing here. So if you are not driving or doing something else and you can stop, just close your eyes and just take a couple of really slow 5-second breaths in and breathing out. Give yourself the gift of slowing down and just being in the moment if you can. I often forget how powerful these really simple breath slowing, grounding techniques can be because, I take them for granted, I think, and I do them for myself, and I often forget to bring them into these podcasts and transmissions. So let's allow ourselves to slow everything down and just be present in our bodies if we can. And if you can't, hey, this is a process. So just do your best. Just do your best to give yourself permission to receive something for once. If you're constantly going and doing and overworking yourself and overgiving, this is time for you. So if you can, sit down and chill. And if you can't, just allow yourself that energy of receiving and slowing and breathing so that you feel grounded and connected into yourself and into any possible wisdom that you are going to grab from today. Okay, so the core truth of healing and addiction to healing is quite subtle, and I'm going to go over that through the time of this podcast. And I just want to really kind of reinforce that healing matters. Healing is extremely important. It is a foundational necessity for creating the life that you want to create from a soul-led perspective. If you want to lead anything from your soul, if you want to create a business, have a relationship, have health and wealth that's all soul aligned to you, healing is a necessary step. It is the first step usually, and it's very, very necessary. So I'm not downplaying the power and the efficacy of healing. It's literally a non-negotiable. There's a belief that I hold around this, that if you aren't already well on your way to a particular goal or destination that you have set for yourself that's soul aligned, or if you're not already there, then you will have a block in the way. You will have a subconscious program or belief that's coming in and interrupting your ability to get to where you want to be, if it's soul aligned, if this is where you're meant to be heading. So that, even just breaking that down, can take time. Learning how to clear your channel, learning how to be in your heart space and listen to your intuition and your guidance, get very clear on your goal, and then taking steps towards it. It's like a process that we go through. And what we find is that when we hit these blocks, and the blocks can come at any of those stages, or usually all of them actually, it may be some emotional residue that you haven't processed yet. It may be an ancestral imprint or a karmic imprint. It might be nervous system overwhelm. It could be past life or interdimensional life related, or it could be belief that isn't even yours to start with. But regardless of where it comes from, it's going to be blocking your progress. And understanding that is really key to being able to transform and transmute that experience so that you can keep moving forward. So it tends to kind of clear the smoke on your mirror in mystery school terms. So you've got this cloudy mirror. It's clouding how you see yourself. It's clouding how you see the world and how the world sees you. And healing is clearing the smoke off the mirror. It's basically polishing it so that your soul's reflection can shine through, that the world sees you exactly as you are, and that you can actually move forward in your life with clarity and soul-aligned purpose. That the universe, when you put those intentions out there, can see you directly and clearly and co-create with you whatever it is that you're putting out there into the world. And the people that manifest most beautifully are the ones that can clear a lot of this stuff, but also get into the right brainwave state and create those intentions that are truly soul aligned for them. And they just tend to manifest on a dime, right? It's so cool to see. It's so inspirational. And yet sometimes you might be going, well, what about me? Why can't I do that? And for me, a lot of it is the healing aspect is often missing. Okay, so without healing, you just keep bumping into the same glass ceiling. You're going to have this constant trying and this retrying and this retrying, and you're looping with your thoughts and your behaviors, and nothing's actually moving forward. Your whole life feels like it's on a hamster wheel. Okay, so healing, what happens is that you dissolve that glass ceiling. You kind of get whatever's been in your way out of the way so you can actually open the path forward. This is actually a super, super important part of understanding where healing comes into your life. It's not to kind of dive into that hole and stay there. It's not about that at all, actually. It's about recognizing where you're looped and where things are repeating, and it's an unhealthy repetition. And when you feel this unhealthy repetition, then that's when the healing is necessary. Now, the problem is healing can also become a loop. So you may have loops that you're creating in your life in terms of beliefs and behaviors and outcomes. And that is often based on a healing issue. But then the healing then can also become its own loop, which is equally distressing because it also keeps you stuck. Okay? So the wound, once it's met, it can become quite addictive. Not everybody gets addicted to it, but honestly, it's a really, really high proportion of people. And it's not because you're broken, it's because you're kind of staying in a process that feels safer than stepping into freedom. So there's usually a process that we need to go through. Have we done the healing? Have we cleared any karmic or ancestral or energetic imprints that are stopping me? Yes, done, tick. Okay, what's next? Okay, maybe we need to look at other things that might be impacting this rather than just a healing requirement. Okay, people tend to get caught as well, because the mind loves the certainty of a problem to fix, right? If I don't have a problem to fix, who am I? If I'm not working through something, well, then what's my purpose, right? I'm still stuck, so I need to heal more. But the thing is, the nervous system will always prefer the familiarity of old pain over the unknown of expansion. Our subconscious minds will actually stick us in a place where we believe that healing is something that needs to continue and continue and continue to almost zero purpose, right? Nothing changes. And I hear this all the time in my clinic and my one-on-ones is, but I've worked through this, I've done this, I've cleared this again and again and again and again. Sometimes it's because they haven't cleared it to a deep enough level. That's absolutely true. And sometimes they're kind of caught in a loop. Okay, so it's really important to understand and identify the difference. The other thing is that the community, the spiritual community at large, especially particular containers, they validate wounds more than joy. Now, there's equally a number of spiritual containers that only work on the joy, and they forget that the wounds can impact the joy. So I tend to see this real dichotomy in different spiritual circles where you're only working the wound, and so you kind of get stuck in the wound and focus only on that, or you're only focused on the high vibe manifesting, which is great in theory. And if you can learn how to get into that brainwave state and create your future from that, and you have no blocks around it, that's awesome. Like, please keep doing that, 100%. However, if you are trying to do that and nothing works for you, if you're blocked, if the same situations repeat, if you're caught in a belief loop cycle in your mind, if you try and try and try and try and try and you're doing everything that everyone else is doing and you are not moving forward, this doesn't work for you. You actually have to find another way. It's not because you're doing it wrong. You may still be going into those beautiful brainwave states and creating these awesome outcomes in your mind. And if you do that enough for about 20 years, you might get there. But the stuckness comes from those unhealed wounds that are still kind of clouding your mirror, right? It's still important to clear the mirror as well as create that joyful proposition for your mind. Okay, so the trap is when the physical life hasn't shifted yet, you assume that you need more healing. Sometimes that's true. Very often it is not true. Okay, sometimes what's needed isn't more polishing of the mirror. It's finally looking at it properly and seeing what you can do with it. All right, you don't necessarily have a blockage. You may just need to change something 5 degrees to the left or the right of what you're already doing to create flow again. Okay, so this is where we can kind of look at not necessarily our past situations, but how are we showing up right now? Am I looking after myself? Am I balancing my work and pleasure? How's my energy? Am I eating properly? Am I in a currently, distressing situation somewhere? Is my relationship not great? Is that something I need to reconsider? Is my work really dragging my energy down? Do I need to look for another one? Right? These are very real life situations that we can look at and go, the healing will get us so far, absolutely. And very often what it does is it lifts the veil of what we believed to be true and right for us before that. So when those veils lift, it's not always sunshine and roses and joyful playtimes, right? Sometimes it is, that's amazing. I'm not actually talking to the people who have these amazing healings and these amazing manifestations and they go in flow. I'm talking to you if you've done those things and nothing shifts, okay? You get stuck. You're just so stuck. And I can't tell you how many people have said to me when they've come into me for the first time and they'll say, wow, I've done all of this healing and nothing's changed, right? What's wrong with me? Can you help me through this process? And I just want to really remind you that you've done nothing wrong. There is nothing wrong with you. And maybe we just need to look outside the box here and see what else we can try. Okay. So remembering that healing is the doorway It is not the destination. Some people believe that if you do enough healing, the destination automatically props up in your face. What I've actually found personally, and with a lot of clients as well, is let's say you've been in a really destructive relationship and you do the healing around how you've shown up in the relationship, your patterns, how you've shown up, how you are destructive, right? For you and for them. And you work through that and you work through that and you work through that and you feel really clear and you do all the right things. You say the right things to them. You open up with vulnerability. You open up with good listening. You say and do and be yourself 100%. And they're still behaving in the way that has created destruction from their side in the first place. Man, that's the writing on the wall. You've come out of your healing. You've moved through it. And sometimes when we do that, our partnerships, especially our close partnerships, will rise with us, which is so amazing. Our loved ones can absolutely shapeshift when we heal ourselves. Absolutely. And sometimes they don't. Sometimes they actually get worse because this other person who's extremely reluctant to change and will not do anything to change, even if they say they do, you are going to have more resistance and more pain and more issues in that relationship because this person isn't doing the same thing that you are. And what it does for you is it wakes you up and makes you go, oh my gosh, it doesn't actually matter what I do. This person is never going to change, right? So I have two choices. I can stay in the pain and hope and hope and hope and hope this person changes and keep working on myself thinking I'm the problem, or I get out, right? Two choices. And I'm not saying those are easy choices. These are really hard choices. But when you've done enough healing, you can actually get clarity over that decision. You're not stuck in the, oh my gosh, it's still not working. There's more for me to do. There's more for me to do. Very, very often that is not the case. If you feel like you're showing up in every way that you can to have integrity for yourself and to be in alignment with your soul and to show vulnerability and openness and the willingness to connect with someone else and they still don't meet you, that relationship is potentially over. And what the healing does is it gets you into the place of understanding that, and then you can make a choice. All right? And they will often step up with you, or they'll fall away effortlessly, or that falling away happens without too much resistance. Okay? That's what healing does. The loop is when you keep doing the same thing. Man, I've cleared this worthiness issue. I've cleared the fact that I'm not heard. I've worked through this feeling of not being lovable. I've worked through all of these things. I keep working on them. And they're not changing. It's not about them anymore. It's not about you anymore. This is about you then making a decision based on clarity, right? You don't have to workshop yourself anymore. You've done it, right? And if that person is not going to shapeshift with you, if they are very much going to have resistance over their own growth and expansion, that is their choice. We can't change that. That's on them. And what we can do in our healing journey and in our self-actualization journey is make a very clear choice based on the obvious patterns that become apparent to us that we couldn't have seen before we did the healing. But the loop is, but I better keep trying, but I better keep trying, but I better keep trying. No, you don't have to keep trying. You actually don't. Give yourself permission to just take a step back and go, wow, I've done all the right things. This person is not changing. It could happen in work. I'm doing all the right things. I'm showing up in the most empowered position I can. I'm doing my best work ever. I've worked on my belief systems of being seen, of being valued. I've worked on my own blockages about, allowing rewards or whatever it might be, right? Allowing money to flow because of my creation, because of my work. And if you're still not being seen, if it feels really aligned, and often it'll get more uncomfortable rather than less, if you are meant to leave that place. You just get clarity over, wow, this is so super not aligned for me, I need to leave. Okay, that is not a failure, that is clarity. If you need to leave a job, if you need to leave a relationship, if you need to do something dramatic with your health that's different, that is not a failure. That is, da-da, the doorway's opened. Please take it. You've been doing doorway number 1 for 10 years. How about you try doorway number 2? Because that's the better doorway for you. That's what the healing does. Okay? So we need to remember that this loop system only happens when we feel like the external world needs to change to shift us, and when we feel really scared about taking that next step, taking that next decision based on someone or something else, and also based on our own belief that because everything hasn't magically shifted, then there's more wrong with us. Okay? I have to say that's not true. Sometimes we'll have belief systems around not feeling supported enough to change, that the universe doesn't have our back. Sometimes there'll be synchronicities that we're looking for, but we don't actually believe are going to arrive. So those can be forms of blocks as well. But typically when you work through most of your core limiting beliefs and you work through patterns of dysfunction that you know are present, and when they start to kind of integrate and you feel much better about yourself, and the life situation is still showing up, I really invite you strongly to ask yourself, is this me that needs healing, or is it the situation that needs to change? And just get clarity on this. Get your higher self to come in and tell you and inform you and guide you through this. If you don't really know how to do any of these processes, I do all of this stuff inside the Intuitive Mastery School. So we meet weekly, we have live classes, and we have a full library of transmissions for people that want to come in and do things on their own time. So if you want to learn how to do this more deeply, come and join me. It is literally a fraction of the cost of almost any other container you'll be in. And it gives you all of this incredible information and all of these teachings to help you in exactly what we're talking about today. Having the discernment to understand what to do, how to move forward, how to embody your higher self all the time so that you don't get confused about this and you don't get stuck. Okay, the last thing we want is for you to be stuck in your life, trying all the things and then giving up and just putting up with mediocrity or putting up with some kind of discomfort, because that is not what you're here for. You are here for greatness. You are here for awesome, right? Do not settle for anything less than that. You are worthy of so much more than that. So when we want to kind of move from healing and we want to go from into embodiment and creation, we've got to remember that we've got to take a bit of a stock of where we're at. Have we done enough healing? Have we not done enough healing? What's happening in our life? So I've kind of touched on that from an external perspective, but some of the questions that you might ask yourself is, have you processed the same story more than once without new insight, without more information, without more understanding of yourself? So that's a bit of a sign you've been in a loop. You feel lighter even if your outer world hasn't caught up with you yet. Okay, so if your body feels good, if everything feels really good in yourself, but your outer life hasn't caught up, you've probably still done the healing, because the outer life can have a bit of a delay. That's very much along the kind of divine timing timelines, which we can work with, absolutely. But for the most part, we also need to be in some level of surrender around what that looks like and how it's going to come in. If your inner questions shift from what's wrong with me into what wants to rise within me, what do I want to create, where do I want to go, that's also a really nice sign that your healing journey for the moment has ended. So we have this process where we move through healing, we hit this place of kind of peace and anticipation, and then we move into creation, into manifesting, into where we want to go. And this moment is really important to recognize and understand. And most of the time, my clients will see it. If they've been seeing me for a while and we've worked through stuff, and they'll hit this moment of, wow, I just want to see where I can go from now. This is so exciting. Then they're going to move into this manifesting. And it doesn't mean that they'll never be blocked again because they've never taken this journey. but it's not going to be this constant digging of what's wrong with me. It's going to be, wow, I'm kind of struggling to get from, I don't know, 100 clients to 1,000 clients. Let me just see what I can work through here. Okay. So some of the ways that we can pivot from the constant healing into the manifesting is name the loop when it repeats. Just get really clear. Oh, wow, I'm going into that self-belief issue again. Okay, what can I do to reinforce my new belief in myself? Just name the loop. It can be very helpful. What you can also do really, really often is actually get your highest self to anchor your new frequency into your body and do it regularly. So if you've moved into this place of joy and you feel this anticipation and gratitude, ask higher self, please come in and anchor this new frequency of joy and gratitude and anticipation through my body, and just allow that frequency to come through. That's a very powerful way to kind of reset and come back to yourself. Be really mindful too how much of other people's stuff you may have accidentally picked up, and just release it. But if you've healed enough, you shouldn't even be doing that. Okay. It's also important to shift into action, soul-aligned action. And even if your outer world hasn't caught up yet, if you're feeling really expansive and really excited, and you've got this kind of sense of moving forward inside, then ask what aligned actions you can take outside to move to your goal, which is super, super important and kind of necessary. Mike Dooley talks about this. It's kind of like, he talks about this concept of putting the coordinates into your GPS system in your car, but not putting your car into drive and expecting you to land up at your destination. Like, there's still stuff to do here. There's still actions to take to get from where you are to where you want to be. But when there are aligned actions and you're not blocked anywhere, that is true flow. That is that manifesting energy that we're talking about. You can also kind of mark the transition with a ritual if you want to. So something like, this wound has offered its medicine. I choose now to embody the healed self. You could do something like that to just really anchor in that new frequency. I've done this. It's done. I don't have to repeat this. I can actually keep moving forward now. And just remind yourself, because sometimes our brains take a bit of time to catch up. Sometimes. So remembering our rhythm is often when we start, there's going to be a lot of healing. And then when we reach that kind of almost equilibrium point, we're going to move into this place of, okay, where can I go? What can I do with me, right? With this clear soul light that I just want to shine out there. Super exciting, right? And remember that when you hit a block in that process, this is not, man, I've got to go back into this cycle of healing. It's, oh, I probably just need to work through the next layer of my awesomeness, rather than I've got to then loop back into old patterns, because that's almost never the reason or the case, right? You might have to work through multiple levels of something in the healing journey. But again, if you're doing the same healing with no new insight, that's not new healing. If you're doing it without new understanding and new integration and a higher sense of self, that is a loop. That is not helping you. Please stop. I know that sounds harsh. I'm saying it with love, because you deserve better than that. We deserve to get out of these healing loops, these addictions to what's wrong with us, and diving down that drain hole of all the things that we need to fix before we're worthy. We are already worthy. You are already worthy. There is nothing else you need to do to be worthy. And when you allow yourself to work through those worthiness wounds, if that's what's holding you back, and you start to then not necessarily see direct reflection in your life yet, ask for guidance. Is this healing done? Yes or no? Ask your higher self. Am I ready to step into this particular path? Yes or no? If you're moving into the manifestation creation path and you hit a block, ask yourself, is this a block, or do I need to pivot? Always ask clarifying questions. It's so helpful. Right? If you're not sure, ask. If you're not sure how to connect into your higher self and get that guidance, that's what the Intuitive Mastery School is for. For any of the healing, that's what the Intuitive Mastery School is for. And if you're manifesting and struggling, that's also what the Intuitive Mastery School is for. Find something that works for you, however, and absolutely The invitation is for you to look after yourself in every element of this and never ever stay in a place of continued looping pain if you can avoid it. Get really understanding of your own pain, work through the wounding and the healing, absolutely. And then when it's time to move forward, as scary as that might be, especially if you have to leave a long-term job or a long-term relationship, which I know how terrifying those are. I know deeply how terrifying those are. If you can take that leap, you will usually thank yourself for that. But listen to your guidance first. Call it in, ask for guidance. Get that really clear for yourself so you know how to move forward. Okay, hopefully that is a lot of clarity for you. I know how hard this is. There's no timeline on this. Sometimes the gap between clarity and movement can be months or years, and that's okay. This is not a you must make a billion life-changing decisions right now. This is a just get really curious and look at yourself and just ask yourself whether you're looping, whether you've healed enough, whether you're creating in a way that's really aligned for you, and where you might be sitting in this process, and be okay with wherever you're at, because wherever you're at is absolutely perfect. You can't skip a step necessarily. And I truly believe that if you can do that really deep healing and move to that place of moving forward, and you can do that with clarity and trust in your higher self, and every time you feel blocked, you just do a bit of a clearing. And usually by the time you've done enough healing, it's super quick, like a minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, right? It's done. And then you move into the next version of yourself. And then you start moving into conscious recreation of who you want to be, rather than, man, I need to really dive into old stuff. It's just not necessary. Okay, sending so much love to you and yours, and I will see you next time.